Here's a question. Have you ever heard someone say ain't in a song or a movie? Like,
ain't no sunshine when she's gone.
Or, I ain't got no time for that. Maybe you wondered, is ain't actually English? Well, it sure ain't in the textbooks, but it is in real life. And I ain't kidding.
Welcome to another Happy English podcast coming to you from New York City. And here's your English teacher, Michael.
All right, thank you, John, and thanks, everyone. It's Michael here from Happy English, and I help people speak English better. And this is Happy English Podcast, episode 899. Ain't that real English? How native speakers really use ain't. Thanks for tuning in, and welcome back to the podcast. Today, we're diving into a word that confuses a lot of English learners. Ain't. It's not considered standard grammar, but that doesn't mean it's wrong. In fact, native speakers use ain't all the time in casual spoken English, especially in music, movies, and everyday conversation. So, if you've ever asked yourself, what does ain't even mean? Today's episode is for you. And here's a little history. Ain't wasn't always considered bad English. Back in the 1700s and early 1800s, ain't was actually used by educated speakers and writers as a normal contraction for things like am not, is not, and have not. But by the late 1800s, grammar reformers decided it sounded too casual and it started getting pushed out of schools and formal writing. These days, ain't is still used in everyday conversation, music, and regional speech. Even though it's technically non-standard, it's definitely real English. Okay, so what does ain't actually mean? Well, it's a contraction, and a very informal one. In fact, ain't has two uses. Here's the first one. Ain't can replace negative forms of the be verb, isn't, am not, and aren't, like he ain't ready yet, which means he isn't ready yet. When my boss asked me if I was tired, I was like, nope, I ain't tired, meaning I'm not tired. And maybe you're wondering where my dogs are. Well, they ain't here at the moment. Ain't can also replace negative forms of has and have, like hasn't and haven't. Someone asked me, did Kim finish her homework? And I said, nope, she ain't finished her homework. In other words, she hasn't finished it. Here are some more examples. My sister asked me if I saw the movie Kiss of the Spider Woman, but I ain't seen that movie yet. And I was surprised to hear that Jack ain't been to that new pizza shop in town. He loves pizza. Just remember, ain't is very casual. It's not something you want to use in formal situations like business meetings or writing essays. But in casual conversation, or if you're just quoting someone, it's totally fine. People use ain't to sound relaxed, real, or just playful. Now, let's move on to another super common way people use ain't. The phrase, ain't no. And yes, that's a double negative, like what we talked about in episode 881. Your grammar teacher might not like it, but it's very common in American English for emphasis. You've probably heard ain't no in songs, like what I played for you at the beginning of this episode.
Ain't no sunshine when she's gone.
Or in the classic soul tune, Ain't No Mountain High Enough. In both of these examples, the ain't no just adds emphasis, like there isn't any sunshine when she's gone. But with ain't, it has a stronger, more emotional tone. You'll hear this in everyday conversation too. Like, it was pouring rain on Sunday, and I was like, ain't no way I'm going out in this weather. Or about that nasty guy at the party last week. There ain't no excuse for being that rude. So yeah, double negatives like ain't no break the rules, but they add punch, style, and emotion. Now, here's another fun one. Ain't that, followed by an adjective. This is often used to say something isn't very, whatever that adjective is. It's a kind of low-key, sometimes sarcastic comment, like, that movie was supposed to be funny, but it ain't that funny. Or, the weather ain't that bad today. Here's one more. This green curry ain't that spicy. On the other hand, we can start a sentence with ain't that to mean it is very. Like if someone says, ain't that interesting? They mean that's very interesting. When one of my friends said he was going to stay at the W Hotel, I said, ain't that expensive? Yeah, that hotel is very expensive. Or that classic rock and roll hit. Both of these uses of ain't that are super common in casual English conversation. You'll hear things like, he ain't that smart, or it ain't that hard. And sometimes it even becomes a compliment. Like if someone's worried about their performance, you might say, hey, it ain't that bad. Okay, let's recap. Ain't replaces isn't, am not, haven't, or hasn't. As in, he ain't ready and she ain't finished her homework yet. Ain't no is a double negative used for emphasis. Like, you know, ain't no reason to worry. And ain't that can be used in negative and positive sentences. This lesson ain't that hard. Yeah, ain't that right? And again, ain't is not for formal English. We use it when speaking casually, but avoid it in writing or serious situations. So, here's your challenge. Try listening for ain't in a song, movie, or TV show this week. You don't have to use it yourself, but understanding it will help you follow real spoken English more easily. If you do feel like trying it out, say something like, I ain't got time for that today, and see how it feels. And hey, if you want to practice the English from this and all of my podcasts with me and a group of other awesome English learners, come check out my Podcast Learners Study Group. We meet once a week and go over the language from these podcast lessons together. It's a great way to build confidence and improve your speaking. Just click the link where you are listening to this podcast right now, or visit myhappyenglish.com and choose podcast episode 899 for more info. Thanks for listening. And remember, learning another language is not easy, but it's not impossible. And I'm here to help you on your journey.
This podcast was brought to you by Happy English. Please visit myhappyenglish.com. Show your support for Happy English by leaving us a review. Get English, get happy, Happy English.